A museum exhibition is the visual expression, within a physical space, of historical and cultural messages. The location of the objects, their meaningful associations and disposition through the rooms communicate precise information. Indeed, the aim of the exhibition is to convey knowledge to a public. But the conveyance of messages in the most effective way is not simple, and even a well-planned and well-organized exhibition sometimes is not enough. In the previous lessons, we have seen how to organize a good exhibition. Now let's see what further methods we can employ to ensure an effective transmission of messages. The first help can come from the public itself. In order to understand how to communicate precise messages by means of an exhibition, it would be necessary to broadly envision the portrait of a typical and ideal visitor. According to Margaret Lindauer, the typical visitor includes the average of all the visitors in terms of education, social status, previous experiences, and so on. The ideal visitor is instead the visitor culturally at home in the exhibition. As already mentioned in the previous lesson, Margaret Lindauer draws a third category of visitor, which is the critical visitor. This type of audience studies the features of an exhibition. Which objects are exhibited, in which way, and for which reasons. The critical visitor also looks at the display style, focusing on design elements such as panels, wall colors, lights, types of vitrines, etc., and considering how these elements influence the way of moving through the exhibition. The feedback of the public on the exhibition, its topics and its setting, the presence of participatory strategies, and so forth, is of utmost importance. Critics can in fact influence and improve some museums' practices. So be critical when you walk through the rooms of a museum or when you attend cultural events. The second important support comes from the tour guide. An essential way to engage visitors is the creation of narratives, following people through their visit to the exhibition. Good narratives, combined with well-planned exhibition paths, good objects arrangement, and the clever use of technology are the right key to convey messages and knowledge. In many cases, people do not visit a museum on their own, but in groups. The interaction between visitors thus becomes essential to support learning and to enhance the visit experience. So, in this light, the tour guide has a very important role. He has the task, among others, of facilitating the visitor's immersion in the experience. The job of the tour guide is not easy at all, as he should transfer a considerable amount of information in a short period of time, always following the learning needs of the group and keeping the cultural level high. At the same time, the guide should contribute to create a pleasant experience for the visitors, entertaining them. Audio guides are a middle ground between a visit by yourself and a visit with a tour guide. There are various types of audio guides, from the most traditional one, with no possibilities of tour personalization, to more interactive ones. This last type is more useful to engage visitors, giving them the opportunity of switching from one topic to another, and of deepening some specific issues, according to their personal interests. Then, the museum staff should develop communication and teaching strategies to engage people even after the visit. In fact, there are 3 stages in the learning experience within a museum. The ongoing visit, the moment just after the visit when the experience is re-elaborated and fixed in the memory, the rearrangement of a cultural experience in a longer term. So the experience does not end when the visitor leaves the institution. There are several possible methods to foster the customer's engagement after the visit and to allow them to keep memories of it. For example, as suggested in an interesting article by Silvia Filippini Fantoni concerning multimedia projects, museums can allow visitors to bookmark information of interest for later use thanks to technologies. In this way, it could be possible to build a stronger relationship with the visitor and facilitate the learning process. A step beyond would be that of making visible other visitors' bookmarks in order to create a sort of virtual community in continuous development. Another method, already mentioned before, to extend the educational experience after the visit is the creation of well-arranged catalogs with good illustrations and valid scientific contents. Let's conclude with a very brief mention to the museum's extra services. We can define in this way all those services which help the visitor to be as comfortable as possible in the museum and to reinforce the relationship between the institution and the consumer. For example, a bookshop or a coffee bar could be complementary services for the visitors. When entering a museum, a person can decide to stop to the bookshop before or after visiting the exhibition to buy some items more or less directly connected with the exhibition itself. This is another indirect way to foster the learning process.